After decades of covering politics, then working in politics, Scott Adcock now spends his Saturday mornings still talking about politics, among other things. The political reporter turned public relations officer for the Emergency Management Agency is now a radio host for the Saturday morning show on WACQ in Tallahassee. Adcock worked at WSFA 12 News through some of the most important events in Alabama history, and now he's telling the stories as he remembers them from a much more personal perspective. You'll see, he's still got plenty to say. I'm Bethany Davis, and this is Being Real.
Sponsored by Bryan Jewelry.
When you call me, I'll answer. And if you need someone to hold your hand, when you're lonely, I'll be there. I will give you everything I am.
Promise your everything with a diamond from Bryan Jewelry.
Growing up, watching WSFA and seeing the legends now that I consider legends, and watching them when I went to Troy, and I finished and graduated a degree in broadcast journalism, my goal was to work at Channel 12.
And so how long did it take you to get there?
Let's see. I got hired full-time during my internship, which was great.
Yes.
I got paid and was getting college credit at the same time at Troy. And I was working at Channel 18, the ABC affiliate in Dothan.
Okay.
Well, during that time period, Channel 12 wanted to open a Wiregrass bureau. And so they hired Cal Calloway, who was news director for a radio station in Enterprise, WKMX. A newsman, one of the best newsmen that there has ever been. Newsmen have ever been. Cal Calloway, great. They had two reporters that they had hired, and it just didn't work out. For whatever reason. And Cal said, I want you to put together a resume tape. I went, Cal, I've tried 2 times. You know, obviously I'm not what Channel 12 wants. And he said, when you get off work today, you stay at the station. I'm on my way. He said, we're going to sit there and we're going to pick out your best stories. I said, well, it's not going to be that good of quality. He said, I don't care. We're going to pick them out. He wanted me there.
Isn't that interesting? So it took you a few tries.
It took probably, I don't know, a year and a half.
Yeah.
Which to me was a long time.
Forever when you're that age, I'm sure.
And it was discouraging because I'm thinking, you know, I don't want to stay at this station for the rest of my career, you know, in journalism. So it worked out. And
well, this is a station that historically operates much bigger than something that is run out of a town like Montgomery, Alabama. It has a long history and still does of operating like what we call a big market.
Absolutely.
A big marketplace.
There's no doubt. I mean, just think about the civil rights turmoil in the 60s, you know, Selma, you know, the march. I mean, all of that. At the height of that, NBC News camped at the newsroom at WSFA. They set up an NBC bureau in Channel 12. That's how important Channel 12 was to NBC. And you think about this, the highest rated show in the 80s, mid-80s, early to mid-80s, the highest rated show was The Cosby Show. Just blew the ratings numbers up. There's one show on Channel 12 that topped Cosby, and that was the WSFA 6 o'clock report.
Wow.
That's how many viewers
Yeah,
that the 6 o'clock report had.
that says a lot about the power
Oh,
of
power.
Channel 12.
And the 10 o'clock report on Sunday night.
Huh.
Huge numbers. Huge numbers.
The
Yeah.
history of the power, because like you said, I mean, Channel 12 really has provided the world with a front row seat to some major world-changing events that we wouldn't even know about if it wasn't for Channel 12.
There is no doubt about it. I mean, the impact that station has had on this area and market is just, I think it's so awesome that the State Department of Archives and History has all of that archived footage and stories from Channel 12.
Yeah.
And, to think, here's the state of Alabama putting on a display of the history of WSFA.
Yeah.
You don't really have to say anything else to that.
Yeah. It's pretty cool, because it's something that a lot of other stations and other cities and towns don't allow, that the public is able to access all of our file footage and all of our video from all of those events that were so significant. So that is pretty neat that we're able to share that and make that a part, since it really, I mean, that's what we're here to do, right? We're here to serve the public.
Exactly. And it really ought to be a required assignment for broadcast journalists in schools like Troy, University of Alabama, Auburn University, I mean, and others. That really ought to be a requirement to go and look at the history of Channel 12 that is at archives and archived with the state of Alabama. I think that's awesome.
It's not a bad idea. So I know the 1980s are not necessarily considered a part of the civil rights movement anymore, but goodness, there was still so much happening, particularly in and around the city of Montgomery in that time. What are some of the stories, the moments that you remember the most?
Okay, in that period that I was there, you had Governor George Wallace. The story was, is he gonna run again, or is he gonna hang it up? And everybody close to covering Governor Wallace, and his last year, we were just going, oh no. I mean, if he needs to bow out, he really needed to bow out. And he had two speeches when he went to the podium before a packed, state house.
And no one knew which one he was going to give.
And boy, what an emotion when he read that he'd climbed his last mountain. Oh gosh, the emotion. Channel 12, we captured all that. I mean, tears flowing. I mean, it was something to be a part of.
Yeah.
And the biggest political, what's the term? Flip-flop, apple cart, turn it over, whatever cliche you want to use, happened on that election year in '86, because it came down to the Democratic nominee in the election, in the Democratic primary. And it came down to Charlie Graddick, former Attorney General, and Lieutenant Governor Bill Baxley. Mm-hmm. And Charlie Graddick won the vote. Democratic Party wasn't going to have anything, well, they weren't going to have that. And so the Democratic, they appointed, they became known as the Gang of Five. And they stripped Charlie Graddick of that Democratic nomination and gave it to Bill Baxley when the people had already voted to put Graddick as the nominee. Oh. Well, that put a former probate judge and part-time preacher from Holly Pond, Alabama, Guy Hunt, in the governor's office. First Republican governor elected since Reconstruction. And this state has never been the same since.
Wow.
I mean, the only chance you had of getting elected was if you were a Democrat. Now it's just the opposite in the state of Alabama and mostly the South.
Yeah, it sure is.
But in that time period too, as you were saying, a lot of stuff. And I used to always remember the late great Jim Fife, the play-by-play for Auburn University. He used to love this. Every time I'd talk to him, he'd go, "Tell me again what that saying was that you said." I said, and it was about a woman in Texas. She had started out as a small-time newspaper reporter, working in a small market, and had worked her way on up, and started a very, very successful magazine that became just huge in the state of Texas. And a network was doing a story on her success, and the person doing the interview asked her, said, "How would you describe the average small market to medium market television reporter and that kind of market in general? How would you describe that person?" She didn't bat an eye. She said, "The most underpaid, overprivileged person in the world."
Oh. Underpaid and overprivileged.
I would have never met and interviewed the people in the news that I interviewed if it had not been for Channel 12.
Yeah.
I mean, astronaut John Glenn, senator running for president, covering Ronald Reagan twice, and even real big when Reagan came to Dothan.
Yes.
That was big time for that area. And so many others. Interviewed just all Rosalind Carter. Oh. She spoke at Judson College. I could just go home with the people, but a sidebar that not heavy news side, but I just love. In fact, I saw one of her movies yesterday. Saw two of them. Olivia de Havilland.
Ah.
Melanie, of course, famed in Gone with the Wind. When they had the grand opening for the Alabama Shakespeare Theater, Wynton and Carolyn Blunt had Olivia de Havilland come. Mm-hmm. And I was standing right there representing Channel 12 and covering that, and seeing Olivia de Havilland. That's a highlight for me, because I'm an old movie buff.
I love talking about the highlights, and I will say I agree with you 100% that this job has put us in front of some people that we would never have gotten a chance to even share the same air with, and we've gotten a chance to have conversations with some pretty incredible game changers in whatever their game is.
Yeah.
On the flip side, the other thing that's really stood out to me or has really impacted me over the years I've worked here is that it's given me a whole different perspective on a way of life I would have never known otherwise.
Right.
And made me realize that while I may not be as privileged as some of those other people I've gotten to share life with, man, I am a whole lot more privileged than the majority of the people out there.
Oh, yeah.
And it has given me such an incredible perspective and appreciation for backgrounds and ethnicities and different people that I would have never understood and never gotten to know and never come to love if I hadn't been able to walk into their communities and spend time with them.
Yeah. And when you're covering something, especially, in this market area, think of the access that you have by representing WSFA. Yeah. You wouldn't have that access. Mm-mm. If you were not, representing that station. That, and you think about that. At the time, you may take it for granted. But when you look back on it, I would have never been able to have those experiences if I had not worked there.
Yeah. experiences, I think that for me have really shaped me. I feel like they've made me
Yeah.
a better person,
Yeah.
and a more empathetic person, I think, than I
Yeah.
would have been otherwise. We talk all the time about how Channel 12 is much more than a place to work.
Yeah.
This is a family.
Yeah.
Once you're a part of the family, you're always a part of the family.
There you go. Well, I'm glad you said that.
But because we spend so much time, and gosh, not even more than time, so much energy and effort, and we really do pour ourselves into the
Yeah.
work that we do, we get to know some of the people that we work with as much more than just coworkers. They really do become more like friends, and in some cases more like family, or actual family in other cases. Who were some of the people that you worked with that maybe you still keep in touch with, or just made a really impactful mark on you?
Fellow coworker.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, that's a long list. That's a long list. I mean, I've got to say Bob Howell, because Bob Howell hired me at Channel 12. So I have to, I have to say that for sure. It was just, and I'm like going, golly, here I am working, and I've got this guy that's hired me.
Now, I know Bob was an icon by the time I began watching. I probably started watching, paid attention to Channel 12 in about the 80s.
Yeah.
It was the only station that was on in my house. What was he already an icon at that point?
Oh,
Was he
absolutely.
already somebody that
Oh,
left you feeling
absolutely.
a little starstruck?
Oh, absolutely. There's no doubt. I mean, because he came from Channel 4, in Dothan. And he worked at the same radio station in Dothan years before I got my start in broadcasting and radio. I mean, that's why we're here at WACQ, because I'm still doing a radio show with Michael Bird, thanks to Fred Randall, Huey, and Deborah, to let me do this with him. And next month will be our 14th year doing the Saturday morning show. So this right here, radio, my first love.
Is it really?
And I still love it. I wouldn't be doing it if I didn't.
Well, listen, I understand you've got quite a following on this radio station, this radio show that you guys do every Saturday.
We have a blast. We're old school. You're not going to hear radio shows live and doing what we do. I mean, we're all over the road musically. I mean, we'll go from ZZ Top to Hank Williams Sr. So it's
anything,
it's just a blast. We have a great time. Doing it. So, yeah, and I started at Wolf, WOF in Dothan, and Bob had worked there.
Yeah.
So, but yes, Bob, and of course, God rest his soul. I even get a little emotional thinking about Vic. Vic Irving was just one of the greatest guys ever. I mean, he was just, there was no one else like Vic. The talent that man had with a camera. And he wasn't just a photographer. He was a journalist. He was a reporter. He was a reporter with a camera in his hand. When you got back to the station to edit your story, he had everything you needed. He knew when to roll on bites. He just could sense when that sound bite was coming. There was none other like Vic Irving. None other.
He's a natural storyteller.
Oh man, gosh, awesome.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You're not the only one who seems to get emotional when they think about Vic and just the impact. Gosh, it seems like he had such an impact on not just the people he worked with, but on this entire area. The whole region seems to know who he is. And
he had all access, anytime privileges to go fish in Coach Pat Dye's pond. Pat Dye thought so much of him, he gave Vic a Southeastern Conference championship ring.
What was your story that you won the award?
It was a feature story on one of the last of the Gandy dancers. The Gandy dancers, that's a term that goes way back, to when they were building the railroad across this country. and they'd have to line the track. And you'd have like 5 on one side, one rail, then on the other side, 5 on the other. And they would do a chant. They'd do a chant, Lord, working on the, and they would all on the beat time it to line the track up. Huh. So anyway, it was a story on that, and Bill just did such an incredible job, like he always did, and yeah, that I'm proud of that.
But when you call me, I'll answer. And if you need someone to hold your hand, and when you're lonely, I'll be there. I will give you everything I have.
Promise your everything with a diamond from Bryan Jewelry.
The great thing about that award, I don't know how they do it now, but what I loved is that not only did the reporter get the award, but the photographer got it too. Because when you're doing a feature story, human interest, in so many ways, I mean, the photographer is that story too.
Yes.
So it was great to be able to share it, you know, with Bill.
You can't really tell the story without the photographer. You need the video to tell the story also. So yeah, I do think that's, and I think it's cool. I mean, I think as journalists, our goal is to serve the people who are watching, and a lot of times I feel like my award or reward comes from the results that we get from our reporting, or maybe from the people that stop us and say, hey, look, I just want to tell you I saw your story and I loved it, or it did this for me, or because of your story I was able to do something else.
Doesn't that give you a warm, fuzzy?
Yes, it does. But isn't it nice too to be recognized by your peers?
Yeah.
To think, okay, other people who do what I do think I'm doing a pretty good job.
Yeah, and that does. It means a lot. But like you said too, you know, go out to lunch. You know, go to a popular place in Montgomery at the time to go eat lunch, and you know, and people go in there, man, that story you did the other day on that April Fool's story you did on this man growing marshmallows over there in Auburn. We all laughed and fell on the floor laughing. And they just go on and on about it, and you know, and you go, that makes you feel good.
Yeah, it does.
That is, I mean, that's reward.
Those awards also go a long way. These Associated Press awards and other awards like that, they go a long way to helping us advance our career, which you did. I mean, you were at Channel 12. You were here only for a few years, which is a long time, like you said, in that stage of your life.
Right.
But over the course of history, it was just a little blip. You went on to do some pretty cool things beyond Channel 12.
Yeah. I went from 12 to again a sister station in Birmingham, WBRC, and followed Cal Calloway up there, and then I was getting a little, I guess, frustrated with the direction of where things were going, if you will, and I didn't have any. I didn't have any interest in trying to get into a bigger pressure cooker,
right,
if you will, you know, Atlanta size market, and the great thing about Channel 12, it started early, even more so than where I worked after that. The network, people you know, the people you, not just an acquaintance or just because you did an interview with them, but they became closer to that. You know, it's, hey, come on over here and have a seat, you know, and sit down and have a Coca-Cola with me, you know, and that kind of thing, and to where you could pick up the phone and say, look, how about keeping an ear out for me, and that, and anyway, and then I was able to, Governor Hunt gave me a provisional appointment, and went to work for emergency management in public information, and at that time was an assistant press secretary at times when he was traveling, and that was an experience that I'll never forget. So, and again, I wouldn't have had that opportunity if I had not had that experience at Channel 12. So it definitely was an important, if not the most important part of my career.
Well, because it's all about relationships, right?
Yeah.
You were able to make and forge and sustain, which I think is probably the key word, sustain some relationships
Yeah.
that lasted well beyond just, like you said, it's more than just the interview, more than just the story that you're telling that day,
Yeah.
more than just a series of stories. Those were relationships that
Oh yeah.
became the fabric of your life.
Yeah, and Cal Calloway, who really, I mean, he helped me so much, you know. In that time, I still stay in touch with him.
Give me like 2 or 3 words, emotions, thoughts that run through your mind, just off the top of your head. When
Those
Channel
were
12
the
comes up.
days. Those were the days, my friend.
Yeah.
That's really it.
They really
Because I tell you, I loved it. Oh, I loved it.
Yeah.
I was on cloud 9 working at Channel 12.
Would you do anything different if you had it to do over again?
No, I don't think so. Because if I had not experienced the downs that came with the ups, I would not have probably pursued something else. But I've always been in public service. And what you're doing is public service. Mm-hmm. You know, when you're a news reporter, you're doing public service. You work for the state of Alabama, you're in public service, especially in emergency management and people that have an emergency response role and an emergency preparation role. That's ultimate public service. Yeah. And I'm proud to have done that.
Scott Adcock's political and reporting career may have come to a close, but his love and passion for politics and the people they serve still burns a strong flame. He's still watching that world and keeping a close eye on what's happening in the capital city and how it impacts your city. And that's what makes him real.